Hello, hello. Here it is, Friday, January 4th. I'm going to pull up a few things, wait for people to get here. It's Friday. And this is the Uncover Your Personal Operating Manual workshop. And I'm going to wait just a few minutes because I want to make sure that people can hear me. And I'm going to get my tea. My tea is over here. My mug of tea. Gotta have tea. So I hope everyone's doing okay this morning. And maybe I might even just make sure that this looks okay because I'm on my laptop. Usually I'm on my phone. And I don't know. I hope it's okay. My laptop is sometimes a little persnickety. So if you're here and you can hear me, wonderful, let me know in the comments. And if you are watching later and you can't hear me, let me know and I'll do it again. So write me a comment if you're here. And if you are watching later, do #ReplayMagic so I know that you're watching. That would be wonderful. So I'm going to tell you a little bit. This is something I had an idea about because of one of my clients. And my client was talking to me about how she feels like she just doesn't even know what she's supposed to be doing, how to nourish her body, how to take care of it. And she felt like everyone else didn't have that problem. And my experience is usually when I work with clients is that actually a lot of people feel like, I don't know, how do I make this work? How do I do this? And even some people will say like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I figure this out? So I wanted to do this live workshop because this is important to me to get the word out that there is an operating manual available. You just have to uncover it. You don't even really have to create it. It's already there. It's just that we haven't been taught the tools of how to read or interpret the operating manual that we have. Kind of like those IKEA operating manuals that it's not always clearly stated, like do this and then do this. But there are some pictures, some hieroglyphics that we can figure out what's here. Oh, good. Hello, Ray. Ray, if you have an opportunity to tell me that you can hear me, that would be fantastic. Just so I know that it's all working. So for those of you who don't know me, who are new, I just want to tell you a little bit about me. I'm a recovering stress addict. I, for many years, pushed myself way beyond my own limit. And because of that, I was very sick and had to deal with a lot of health issues that over the years, I learned that maybe not necessarily the Western medical community had everything that I needed. So I had to find my own way. And often what happened is that I would go to my doctor and say, look, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm trying. Oh, good. Thank you, Ray. Thank you so much for letting me know. I'm so glad you're here. All the different things I tried, I often brought to my traditional medical doctors, my Western medical doctors, and said, hey, here's what's going on with me. And I don't want to do the way that most people do. I don't want a pill. I don't want a medicine. I don't want surgery. I don't want, to just live with it. What if I try this? And often my doctors were very open to that and would say, okay, try it, come back. If it doesn't work, then we'll talk more. So I did that often, and I can't think of a time when it didn't work, what I tried. So often it was nutrition, or it would be changing my lifestyle. And once I found what the diagnosis was, once I found out what was going on, then I would do the research to find out what was a natural or a different perspective instead of just doing what I was told. So I know my parents probably were very annoyed with me because I tend to be a little stubborn about that, but it actually has served me quite well. So what that resulted in is me doing a lot of different trainings over the years. My PhD is actually in psychology, but I also have a master's in speech language pathology, but found I wanted more. So I became a lot of different things. I became a mindfulness instructor. I learned mindfulness, a yoga instructor, became a certified life coach, a Reiki master, and a shamanic practitioner. And I pulled those pieces together along with my love of nutrition and knowing that food as medicine together to help not only heal myself, but to begin to work with others as well. So let's talk a little bit about operating manuals, because it might be kind of a funny term. Why did I call it an operating manual? And as I said, I had that client that suggested it to me, and not everybody uses that operating manual terminology, but that feeling of, I don't know how to care for myself. I don't know, or even people thinking that what they are doing is as good as they can feel. So I remember thinking like, oh, it doesn't seem right that I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life, which is what the doctors told me. So I started to look at ways that I could do things differently. And what I had to do was uncover my own operating manual. What was it that my body needed? So this isn't a quick fix. This isn't, hey, do these 3 things. This is you being guided by your own wisdom, by your own body, as to what is going to lead to better and better feeling states for you. And by feeling states, I mean physically feeling better, emotionally feeling better, your mind working better, that clarity that you can have. All of that is possible. So if you think that it has to be this way, maybe it's one of those places where you can begin to ask, is it true? Is it true that I have to be that way? So I feel like that the best way to describe this is that this body that most of us feel like is kind of a mystery is actually just waiting for us to listen. And the body always has messages, divine messages for us. And the way that I look at this particular system is by using the 5 wisdom bodies. That is my framework for dealing with clients, the courses that I teach. I have an upcoming course called Whole Body Upgrade that uses this framework of the 5 wisdom bodies. Those 5 wisdom bodies are looking at the physical wisdom body. So our physical self, what we eat, how we move our body, the sleep that we get, all of those things. So the physical wisdom body, the emotional wisdom body, our emotions and that wisdom, which can overlap with the physical wisdom body. All of this, it's like a big Venn diagram. I almost said Zen diagram, it's that too. So we have the physical wisdom body, and then we have the emotional wisdom body. And so sometimes we can have certain emotions that show up in our bodies. Sometimes we have certain emotions that can lead to challenges within our body. So, let me get through the 5 wisdom bodies. I get so excited. I want to tell you all about the pieces. So the emotional wisdom body, the mental wisdom body, or the mind, right? So our thoughts, which can often does affect our emotions, and can also affect our physical wisdom body. And then there's the energetic wisdom body, or the energy wisdom body. And that's, we're all made up of energy. And so this energy that we have can sometimes be influenced by others' energy. So you may notice, like when you walk in your room and you think, why is everybody so sad, or what's happening? That can be one way of checking in on energy, but sometimes we can take on other people's energy that doesn't belong to us. And that can get in the way of our physical wisdom body being healthy, our emotional wisdom body feeling a certain way, our mental wisdom body, what we're thinking. And then the last one is our spiritual wisdom body, and that's our connection with all that is. So this workshop, this little training that we're going to do today, is going to give you an idea of how to uncover that operating manual that you have available to you. And if you want to go more in depth, I'll just say that I'm going to tell you right up front, I have got a class starting January 9th, next Wednesday at 6 o'clock at night, that is a class that's a dive into how to go work with these 5 wisdom bodies and to start feeling better. Okay, so that's the 5 wisdom bodies. So I'd love to know, just right now as you check in, whether you're watching on replay or you're here live, what wisdom body for you might feel like, you know, like, oh yeah, that's one I hadn't thought of before. That's a wisdom body that I don't know about. That's a wisdom body I want to pay attention to. So I'd love for you to just check in. I'm going to take a little sip of tea. And think about what might be a wisdom body that needs some attention. So for me, I know that I see a lot of my clients, well, it kind of depends, and actually it depends a lot. Different people have different energy bodies that need attention. Often people need the physical wisdom body, they need the attention, but they haven't paid attention to the emotional or the mental wisdom body, which keeps them from actually paying attention or taking care of their physical wisdom body. So maybe they think that they don't really need something. Maybe they think that they're not worthy of taking care of themselves. Maybe they think they're doing okay, right? So the mental body is getting in the way. Maybe they think they're eating really healthy, but when they fill out a food journal for me, what I see is that, you know, they aren't really eating any vegetables, and you know, vegetables are kind of like, this is what gives us the nutrients that we need to keep moving. Bread and protein are good. Well, bread, we could have an argument about that, but we'll get back to that later. But more nutrients is what most of us need. Most Americans are not getting the daily recommended there's a very low limit of 5 fruits and vegetables, but 9 is really the optimal amount. It's a lot of fruits and vegetables. We just don't really have any idea how much we need to be getting. Okay, so if there aren't any questions about the wisdom bodies, I want to start talking about these steps to uncover, how to uncover it. And I'm going to have a little bit of my smoothie because, you know, I got to stay nourished. Okay. I love my green smoothie. If you didn't see the video yesterday, I did it on my personal page of how to make the green smoothie that I make. You gotta watch that. Okay, so the very first step that I want you to do, and this is, oh wait, I see there's a question. How my energetic wisdom body is affected and affects my body, heart, and mind. Yeah, Ray, is that a question? I'd love to know. Is that like, do you want to know how your energetic wisdom body is currently affected or how it currently affects that? Or is that something that you notice? Because it is our energetic wisdom body. It's so subtle. And in this particular culture, we're not taught about energy. We're not taught about that we're all made up of energy. We're not taught about how other people's energy can influence us. When we have a particular energy, our particular energy, often I see our thoughts can very easily affect our energy. So I was working with a client this morning and we were talking about the difference between, oh, I don't think that's going to really work. That energy, there's that thought versus, I can't wait to see what happens, right? Yes, I want to understand it better. Yeah, so thank you, Ray, for clarifying. As we watch those thoughts, and I know you are able to understand what I'm talking about when we watch the thoughts, right, in the mental wisdom body, because you're familiar with this work, is when you have those particular thoughts, it changes that energetic vibration. I'm going to use that term. I'm not totally sold on that phrase, but it's like the frequency that we are operating at. when we are operating at a certain frequency, then it can actually even change your emotion. So as you tap into, say, the frequency of gratitude, this is a great example because its frequency is really powerful. So if you tap into the frequency of gratitude, just even like just being gratitude, like, wow, it's pretty amazing. Technology is amazing. I get to talk to people all over the world just from this little box. It's pretty cool. So when I'm at that frequency, that resonation, that resonance of gratitude, I feel in my body different. There's a different sense. And my emotions then connect with that, right? So it's energy and emotion. And then when we switch to, gosh, I'm just grateful. I have a cup of tea. Like, it's a cold, rainy day here in Georgia. And I love me some tea, right? Have a little tea and I'm pretty happy. So that's how we can begin to have this intersection of our different wisdom bodies and how they can then affect each other. So the good news about that, the other piece about that that's really exciting is then when we shift one wisdom body, there's a ripple effect, right? So I shift my energetic wisdom body. I start to shift that energy by connecting with a higher level emotion or a, rather than like worry or fear, but maybe more that gratitude, love, abundance. It can shift then our emotions. It can shift our thoughts. Or we can do it the other way around. I'm going to change my thoughts. I'm going to change my emotions. That in turn changes the energetic body. Now, sometimes there's like a little hiccup and you have to clear the energy or you have to clear some of the mind beliefs in order to change the mind, change the emotions, change the energy. So I hope that's helpful. And that's the framework that I like to work with, because often people aren't aware of that energy body or the spiritual body, that connection of, we are all one. And when we realize we are all one, then when I see someone suffering, then I want to help, right? That begins to happen. So as we have these wisdom bodies then, and we're going to come back to these wisdom bodies because they're extremely important when uncovering your operating manual. I'm very specifically using the word uncovering. I think before I used the word creating, and it's more like translating or uncovering to make sure that you know it. Yes. Oh, good. Thank you. I'm glad that is helpful, Ray. And I sway a little bit because I'm on my yoga ball. I don't like to sit still very long. So if I'm moving around, that's what's happening. So let's talk about this. I think there are probably 4 or 5 steps that I want you to, let me look and make sure, because I started writing these out last night because it's kind of something I do without realizing it. So I wanted to make it like, okay, these are the steps that you take. The first step that I want you to do is to, first I want you to actually find your breath. And I'm going to take you through a little exercise about your why. So, I'll explain this first, that as you identify why you want to uncover your operating manual, that to get clear in that of what is it that is encouraging you? What is it that's calling to you? What is it that's needs your attention? So to do that, I'm going to ask you to connect with your breath, because the way to find the why is to not listen to this, right? The brain, the lying liar that lies, that likes to tell us all the things that usually aren't true. We're going to look more to the body, the wisdom from within, the heart. So take a breath, and that brings us to the present. And you can do that by just feeling the breath at the edge of the nostrils or the chest as it rises and falls. Just begin to show up here. We're doing a lot of talking and that engages the mind. We don't want to engage the mind right now. This is an experiential workshop. So identify your why. Is what we're going to do. We're going to identify what's driving you. So as you breathe, you just begin to ask yourself, why do I need an operating manual? What is it that I'm trying to figure out? What do I want to know? Perhaps it's as simple as, I just want to know how to feel better. Or maybe you just feel like there's something more available. So what is it that you're trying to figure out? What do you want help with? And if you're looking for the right answer, you can let that go. There's no right or wrong answer. And the great news is you can always do this again. So checking in, what is it that you want to know? And take a moment and write it down, even if it's typing it, tippity-tappity, typing out, you can write it on your phone and in the memo section or notes section, or you can just write it on a piece of paper. So do you have a sense for why you want to find your operating manual? And the reason that this is important is because when we're clear on the why, when we're clear on why we are wanting to do this, maybe if it's like, well, my partner told me I'm, always tired. So then we want to take it a little bit deeper, right? Well, okay, if your partner tells you that you're always tired, why does that bother you? What is it that you want? Well, I want to be connected with my partner. Okay. So maybe it's you're doing this because you want to be connected with your partner in reality. Or maybe it's that you haven't quite gotten to the point of like, you want to be taking care of yourself. So ultimately, the operating manual is self-care, nourishing, and self-care. And I don't use that in a self-care, like a lot of people use self-care in a way of manicures and pedicures. And I think of self-care as like nourishment, like you have to do this. And so I think of, this operating manual is a way of the care and feeding of your form that's on this earth. And the form is not just the physical form, but also the emotional, the energy, the mental, all of that. All of that is what we're taking care of. Okay. So hopefully you have your why. And then I want to go to the next step. This one's a little more challenging to do in a 1-hour workshop. It works better if you're doing it in a long-term class. So I want you, the next step is, now you have your why. And, I've been in academia for 19 years now. This January marks 19 years that I left my PhD and I started working as a professor in a university as an assistant professor and a researcher. I want you to, step 2 is to become a scientist. So thank you for the hearts. Thank you so much. I think that might be Steph that's there. Yes, thank you, Steph. So I want you to become a scientist in this. And this step is about becoming fully and completely aware, which is developing your mindfulness skill. So I want to talk to you about mindfulness. If you're not familiar with it, I love it. These hearts are just fantastic. So what we did at the very beginning when I said to pay attention to the breath at your nostrils, this is the skill that will uncover your operating manual more than any other skill, is to become aware in noticing. So this piece tied together with using your intuition, these two together are how you're going to uncover your own operating manual. So first, I want you to practice again. We're going to practice this mindfulness skill. So taking a deep breath, I want you to touch base with your physical body, okay? It can be touching like, actually touching, or it can be just reconnecting. So taking a deep breath in, feeling the air as you breathe in through the edge of your nostrils, or your chest as it rises and falls, or even your feet on the floor. Just begin to notice and become aware. And as you're present here in this moment, it means we're not in the future and we're not in the past. We're here, right here. And when we're present in this moment, when we're present in the present, then we can start bringing in awareness to what we really need. So for right now, just bring your awareness to the body. Breathing in and breathing out. How do you feel? What sensations are present in the body? Mindfulness is just being present without judgment. So maybe you notice that your right foot is a little sore today. Maybe you notice that there's a tightness in your shoulders. Maybe you notice you've been clenching your jaw and you didn't even know it. You don't actually have to do anything, but just begin to notice it. So for me, I noticed today there's just a slight little pressure at the front of my forehead. And in this place, you can begin to watch, like maybe there's a little story that comes up. Maybe not. Maybe it's just feeling the sensation, but maybe it's like, oh no, there's that pressure in my forehead. Does it mean I'm getting sick? Do I have a headache? What did I eat wrong? Right? You don't have to go there. We're just noticing. Just becoming a scientist. Observation is the key to science and questioning, right? So you're becoming aware. Maybe you notice now that there's an emotion that's there. Maybe you notice the mind chatter that might happen. Maybe you notice that you have a spiritual connection, or you can check in with your energy. So staying in that place of mindfulness, this level of awareness, is really key to uncovering your operating manual, the key to listening, the key to paying attention. So I had someone on the video I was on making yesterday about the smoothie who, as I said, that I can't do too much sugar, it gives me headaches, that she realized in that moment, oh, I always get headaches when I go to my mother's house, and I'm really good about sugar, except when I visit my mother, right? There's that awareness. And just even like, so I'm listening as I'm like, oh, I have a little something in my head. And I was like, oh yeah, over the holidays, we made gluten-free, vegan, gingerbread cookies. And there was a gingerbread cookie left. Now it wasn't sugar-free. It did have maple syrup, but it was refined sugar-free, but it still has sugar. And I had one yesterday. Could be why I just felt the evermost slightest little bit in my head. So I'm just noticing, oh, there's no judgment about it. There's no need to, have to. I'm just watching. Okay. And in that, you're opening yourself to your intuition, right? So in that place where you stay here, you're allowing life to drop in observations for you. So let's go. That was really, I love how that ding happened. Could you hear that? My little computer dinged at me. It felt like ding, like a little exclamation point to that. So now we have the first step, right? We talked about the first step, your why. We talked about the second step, which is being mindful. So this mindfulness practice, like I just, like step 2, but it takes practice. That practice can look like a lot of different things. I have in my, on my website, I have a course that I offer called Everyday Mindfulness. It's kind of a do-it-yourself course of how to be mindful, how to be aware in everyday life. It's on sale for, I think it's $39. You also get it when you sign up for my course, the Whole Body Upgrade, but it's a great way of learning how to be mindful in everyday activities like eating, washing the dishes, walking the dog, playing with the kids. I'm thinking about the way I use my mindfulness in my life. When I'm cooking, I try to be as present and aware as possible. When I'm walking, I try to be as present and aware as possible, bringing that mindfulness to it. And that allows for more information to come in. So that leads us to step 3, okay? And the third part of uncovering your operating manual is to bring that awareness, bring that noticing, bring that intuition into those 5 wisdom bodies. So we go back to those 5 wisdom bodies, right? The physical wisdom body. So what am I eating, right? I was just talking about my headache and the sugar. What am I eating? How do I feel after that? So I give clients, when I work with them one-on-one or in my course, the Whole Body Upgrade, I do a worksheet, food journal, so that they can pay attention to, oh, I ate this, and oh, I didn't feel so good that day. So you can start to connect that. So that noticing, but you can do this. You can make your own Excel spreadsheet, really is all you need is Excel or a piece of paper to look at what happens when I eat these things. If I eat dairy, I don't feel well afterwards. If I eat tomatoes, it upsets my stomach. To begin to be the scientist, the observer of when this happens, how do I feel? So the physical wisdom body includes the food, your sleep. So I noticed that when I tend to go to bed a little bit later, when it sneaks closer and closer to 11, I'm also more likely to have a headache. That's one that triggers headaches for me. But for you, it may be that you tend to be, I'm also really grumpy. If I don't get enough sleep, I'm extremely grumpy. And it's not just like enough sleep, it's like going to bed at a certain time. So food, sleep, and moving your body. How does your body want to be moved? And I use that instead of exercise, because exercise has kind of it's got kind of a connotation with it that a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to exercise. Or they think that means you have to go to the gym, but you don't. You can go outside. You can move your body to music. You can dance. You can hula hoop. You can, do push-ups. If you want to do push-ups at home, there are so many things on the internet. Yoga is an amazing movement. You can go to the gym if you love that. You can walk on a treadmill. You can ride a bike. You can, if you vacuumed enough, that would probably be good movement for your body. So what are you doing for your body, and how does your body want to be moved? And I'll give an example is that a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, loves this particular home workout program. And I so wanted to love it. I thought it was a great idea. I thought I wanted to be stronger, and it looked fantastic. This woman was very positive that was running this, and I loved it, except I didn't love it. That every time I tried to turn it on, my body was like, oh, it's time to exercise. And that's not how I want to be when I'm moving my body. It's a joyous exploration of what my body can do. So I love being in the woods, and it's exciting for me to go be in the woods, and I just happen to move my body while I'm there. I love yoga because of how I feel after I do yoga. It's very calming. It's very centering for me. So the physical wisdom body, there's a lot of noticing that happens in the physical wisdom body stage. That's that particular wisdom body. And I'm using this finger for it. I can't remember which one I used before, the physical wisdom body. So that particular stage is, or that particular wisdom body is one that you can begin to bring that awareness to. And you can just pick one at a time. You don't have to notice all of them. But okay, what does my physical wisdom body need right now? Does it need warm food today? I noticed a long time ago that when I ate more raw food, that was really challenging for my digestive system, and I needed to have cooked food. And then as I healed my digestive system, that changed. So physical wisdom body, noticing. Then the emotional wisdom body. Let's see, where are we? We're maybe in this one, emotional wisdom body. So maybe you notice when you are, I'll give you an example around my children. I love my children. And sometimes they like to argue. Sometimes they like to wrestle. And sometimes that affects my energetic and my emotional wisdom bodies. Both of those can be affected. They had I don't know if you're football fans. I was talking about this the other day. I've worked at University of Georgia for a long time, so I happen to be a UGA football fan. I don't know if you watched the Sugar Bowl. Oh, it's rough. So they had it on, and my emotional and my energetic wisdom body was like, not today, not today. I can't do it. So I noticed that I feel like there's something physical in my chest. But it wasn't my chest, it was my emotions. Okay, what's in my chest? Oh, it's nervousness about this. It's wanting them to win. What's my energy feel like? Jangled, frazzled. Okay, my operating manual was saying, not right now. So I went to the woods. I left the house. I let them do what they needed to do, and I did what I needed to do. I took care of myself. Okay, so that's the emotional wisdom body. Maybe it's around people. Maybe it's that you notice a certain coworker. Maybe you need to learn how to protect your energy. I'm going into energy wisdom, but sometimes if you protect your energy, it can protect your emotions as well. So your emotional wisdom body, what do you notice about your emotions? Are you feeling certain emotions at certain times? Do you need to ground yourself? And if you don't know about grounding, a quick tool would be to just connect with the earth, making sure that you have grounding cords into the earth. And making sure that you check into what your emotions are trying to tell you about what's going on in your life. So it could be the people you're around, it could be situations they're in, but what does your emotional wisdom body need? How can you take care of that? What's happening? Maybe there's a certain emotion that gets triggered around certain people, like maybe a worth, not being good enough. So I have certain people that trigger that in my life. So then there's the mental wisdom body, noticing the mental wisdom body. What are the thoughts that are coming up? So again, these may all code together. It's not like they're happening separately. It's kind of nice to help think about them as separate things, but really they're all one hand, right? We're all one thing. So what are the thoughts that are happening? What are they? What are you noticing in certain situations? What are the beliefs that come up? Again, when I was talking to my client this morning, we had a few weeks since we had chatted because of the holidays, and he's trying to set off the time between sessions. And we noticed as we were talking, he was like, oh, I think that that's not possible anymore. So we were noticing that the mental wisdom body needed a little tune-up. So we checked on the mental wisdom body. We checked on the thoughts because it was affecting his emotions, and it was affecting then his actions in his life. So the thoughts that we have, those thoughts, we have circumstances, but the thoughts that we have affect our emotions, affect our actions, and then affect what we do with our lives. So noticing the mental wisdom body. And then there's the energetic wisdom body, right? So noticing your energy. This is a little more subtle if you haven't had practice with it. It's a good thing to kind of go out in the world and notice, what energy do I feel? Okay, so it's a little more subtle than emotions when I'm with the trees, when I'm in a car, when I'm in a certain building, when I go into work, when I'm at home, when I'm in certain rooms in my home. What is the energy? So beginning to notice that particular level of, the energetic wisdom body and what's there. And again, this is how you begin to form your operating manual. Your energetic wisdom body says, no big parties right now because I'm too tired. Okay, you listen, and then you start to actually carry those things out. We haven't gotten to the carrying out yet. Right now, we're just noticing. And then the last one is the spiritual wisdom body. So where are you, how is your connection? How's your divine connection right now? Your connection to all that is. Some people might use the word source. Some people might use the word universe. Some people use God. What's your connection? How is it? Are you feeling fully connected? One of my clients uses the term happiness compass. That's what he uses. So that connection, that happiness compass, is it maybe 20% connected? Maybe it's got a little dust on it and we need to check in with that. That's that spiritual wisdom body. So what I'd love for you to do right now is, again, to make sure that you are centered, that you're breathing. And I want you to connect to yourself and begin to ask yourself, maybe as I went through those different wisdom bodies, you began to identify what is certain things in each of those wisdom bodies. Maybe you're like, yeah, when I eat strawberries, they make me sick. And so I'm not going to eat strawberries anymore. Like, yeah, or maybe you haven't even gotten to, I'm not going to eat strawberries anymore, but strawberries make me feel sick. Or, I noticed that, what I said about sugar, when I eat sugar, it's just not good for me. And I noticed that. I'm aware of that. So I'd like you to go through each one, take a moment, make sure that you're not using your mind, but you're using your body, okay? What does your body, what does your operating manual tell you, right? Remember, we're reading the IKEA instructions, right? Or no, maybe you don't know what that is, but they're never any words. So it's just stick figures. So maybe you're reading those. Think about food. Think about sleep. And think about movement, your physical wisdom body. And jot down what you've noticed. Don't have to change anything. We're not changing anything. We're just noticing. We're just reading, uncovering the operating manual. So it's kind of a big one. The physical is a big one because it's got so many parts to it. Food, sleep, exercise. I'll just give you a second more. I'll do my tea. Do make sure you drink more water if you're on this call or listening to it, or live if you're listening to it later. Lots of water, because just by being here, just by watching, I'm holding energy for you to shift. That's the beauty of this work, because it works in the 5 wisdom bodies. So let's go to the emotional wisdom body. Jot down anything about emotions. Maybe you know that there's a certain level of certain emotion that occurs at a certain time of year, maybe winter or the holidays, or maybe just connecting with, gosh, I used to have a gratitude practice, but I don't have that anymore. Maybe there's an emotion there that you notice you would like more of. And then the mental wisdom body, you may not have something for everyone, and that's totally fine. We're just uncovering, right? Sometimes some pages are a little more clear than others, and sometimes we just need a little more time to get to that extra page. So the mental wisdom body, maybe there are thoughts that are, all these things here, becoming a scientist is helpful. They weren't showing these before. It feels like it can be challenging to get through the different wisdom bodies to find the actual source of an issue. Yes, you don't always have to find the source, Ray. So find a place of just noticing, right? We're just noticing. We don't have to find like we don't have to dig all the way down. We just want to look at what we're seeing right now. Like, oh, I notice in my mental wisdom body that I've been thinking a lot about, for me, this has been on my mind lately. I want to make those blessing bags. I don't know why, but I just want to make those. So I'm watching the thoughts about, I should make those blessing bags and give them to people who are homeless. Athens, Clark County, in the town I live in, has an incredibly high number of homeless individuals. So it's been on my mind. It's a mental wisdom body thought. I'm just noticing. I don't have to do anything about it. I don't have to take anything. So, and it can be challenging to get to the actual source of an issue, but that's why I'm here, is to help you when it is challenging. So I hope that's helpful, Ray. And if not, please let me know. I'm sorry that I hadn't seen those comments before. Okay, they're showing up, but I have to scroll up. So that's the mental wisdom body. Then checking in with your energetic wisdom body. And again, as I said, this can be a little challenging for some people who may not have practice with that. So take a moment and just notice, what do I notice about my energetic wisdom body? Maybe it's that, oh gosh, I've been feeling jangly on Mondays. Why is that? Why am I feeling jangly on Mondays? Or maybe it's the weekends. Maybe on the weekends I feel jangly. You don't have to solve it. You don't have to know anything. We're just noticing. Okay, so the deal with science, which is, it's unfortunate, and it's the process, is that it takes a long time, right? It's not instant. People don't always know that. We see these beautiful articles that are published, and sometimes it takes a lot of asking questions, going a little deeper, asking questions, going a little deeper. So what do I notice about my energetic body? Do I even know I have an energetic body? That could be the first thing. Like, maybe the first step is just noticing that you have an energetic wisdom body. So can you notice that? Can you notice when you have one? When do you notice it more? Right? So remember, an operating manual is just a reference document. It's a stepping off point, right? A beginning. It doesn't solve all the problems. That's why you call technical support. It's me for when you need things. Okay. And in science, it's what happens is we ask a question, we have a hypothesis. I'm mixing all my metaphors. I'm sorry. You have a question, you have a hypothesis, you collect some data, right? You try something out, you have a variable that you try, and then you get the results. You see like what happened. And then usually what happens is you go back and try again, you ask another question. So we're on the fourth energetic. Let's look at spiritual. Let's do the fifth one. See if you can notice that there's anything there. Okay. Is there anything that you notice spiritually? Maybe there's a calling. Maybe there's a longing. Maybe there's a felt sense of connection. For some people, it may feel like there's a piece missing. And in shamanism, we talk to that as we talk about soul retrieval as a way to return any lost essences that may have been placed in places for safekeeping during a traumatic event, and that they are ready to be returned. So maybe there's a feeling sense that needs to be returned. So I hope you've had time to write down what you've noticed, what you see as possibilities. The fifth step, it might be 6 steps. I'm 5, maybe 6. But the fifth step is to start to become curious and make a plan. So maybe this is the scientific process, right? Of just as we said, like, oh, I noticed this. I wonder if I am more in touch with my energy when I go out to the woods, which is totally true for me. I can feel into my energetic body much more clearly when I'm away from the noise, the electronic noise, people noise. I can go to the woods. So becoming curious and making a plan of what's one little thing you can take into account. So this 5 step is not like step 5, you're done. It's this rolling cycle. You notice, you become curious, you make a plan, and then you might go back and go, wait, why do I want to do this? Oh, right, I want to be strong. I really want to know what my operating manual says about being strong. Okay, strong, got it. Let me start to notice. Where do I avoid being strong? Where do I want to be strong? How do I want to be strong? Right? I start to begin to look through all the different energetic bodies or the different wisdom bodies. I notice what's there, and then I make a plan. Oh, my operating manual says that when I move my body in the woods, I feel strong. Make sense? I hope that makes sense. So becoming curious and making a plan. How can I try one thing to see if that fits in my operating plan, right? Just like we're going to go back to IKEA. There's the manual. It's kind of like, I think I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So you look at, does this nut and bolt fit in this particular place? Am I supposed to bend it this way? Am I supposed to do it this way? Oh, that doesn't fit. That's not it. I go back to the operating manual. And the piece that maybe that's why I'm like, maybe this is step 6, maybe this is the overarching thing, is making sure that you have an emotional emergency plan. And this is extremely important when you start to dive into your operating manual, is making sure that you have an emotional emergency plan. What the heck am I talking about? This is what I want you to have, is some way that you are taking care of yourself when you're doing hard things, right? So if you start to try something that's a little uncomfortable, maybe it's a sticky note that says, I love you no matter what. Maybe it's a certain song that you listen to that can be reassuring. Maybe it's someone that you can call on to say, hey, look, I'm really struggling right now. Is all this okay? Make sure it's a trusted person that loves you unconditionally. But think about what your best friend would tell you. And I want you to write it down on a sticky note, or put it as the lock screen on your phone, or, I actually like to do multiple reminders in multiple places. So put one up by your toothbrush where you brush your teeth, put it by your refrigerator if you're making food choices, inside your cupboard, write it on your hand. You can tattoo it on the back of your eyeballs, whatever. Don't really do that. But whatever it is that helps you remember that this is all just good fun. We're just playing. Right? We're becoming curious. There's no have-tos, there's no shoulds, but if there's something that you had a why about, like, gosh, I really want to feel better. I really don't want to have an upset belly every time I eat. Well, what can we do? What can that kind, compassionate mentor that's a part of you do to help you? So I think that piece is really important. It's one of the things that I teach all of my clients. It's what I talk about in my whole body upgrade class that's coming up next week. And that operating manual, I don't think I've really laid it out like this before. So you guys are the first to see it. Yay! But it's what I do for myself. It's what I do with my clients. This is the process of uncovering your own operating manual so that you can begin to feel better. This is just like one little part of the fusion that I do in my work, doing whole body upgrade. I have classes that I offer regularly, and I work one-on-one with clients. And if this is something that has been, that you would like more support with, or it's been helpful for you, I would love to be able to work with you. My class starts January 9th. I'll put the link in the comments for the class. It's a 6-week class, and it's fabulous. It's really can be life-changing if you are ready to do the work and if you actually do the work. Those are the two key pieces that I'll give you for that. And if you're ready for more individual one-on-one work, I take these 5 wisdom bodies, and we can go even deeper. We can go even deeper into that guidance, Ray, like you were talking about, of how can I find what the source is? That's what I can help you find, is what is the source in each of those energetic wisdom bodies. It's totally possible to do by yourself, and it is a lot easier to do when you have support. Yeah, that emotional emergency plan is really, it's so important. I was talking about that with a client last night. She was like, oh, that's how I can do the things I need to do, like change the diet, which is one of the things that she's working on. So that's how I support people. I would love to be able to chat with you more. I also have a free call if you're curious. It's a de-stuckification call, and it's my offering to people just because I want to get this word out to the world. I think it's so important that people begin to look at their health from a different perspective, from looking at these 5 wisdom bodies. I'll put the link to all 3 of those in the comments to this. And if you have questions, even if you're watching later, put a little replay magic, ask questions. I come back and answer every comment and every question. So thank you all so much for showing up. I just love doing this work, and it is such a joy to see you all. So thank you so much, and I will see you soon. Bye.